Last year, I did an interview with Russell Brunson, the founder of ClickFunnels. You've probably seen him all over the internet over the last 10, 15, 20 years or however long. And we did this interview for a paid virtual event that I did, but I got enough good feedback from it that I just figured, fuck it, let's just give it away for free. We're going to put it here on YouTube. However, I just want you to know that there's some audio, or not audio, there's some video issues with it, so just expect that. For the first 10 minutes or so, it's randomly just going to show a black screen with Russell Brunson's name on it, because that's what Zoom decided to record. Then it'll be us the whole time. Also, the video quality's not the best ever because it was recorded on Zoom. Again, blame Zoom, not us, but I promise the content is awesome. I have multiple friends one of them who worked for Russell for years, who said when he listened to the interview that he learned a bunch of stuff he had literally never heard before after seeing tons of his interviews and stuff. I had like probably 10 different people reach out saying that that was the best interview they had seen with Russell because they learned a bunch of shit they'd never heard before. I'm not just shooting my own horn or trying to seem like I'm the best interviewer ever, but we had a great time. He talks about how he went from nothing to now having $100 million company. He talks about libraries and books and Dan Kennedy and Tony Robbins and potato guns and how he started by, I think, stealing time at a college computer lab. So that might not even be accurate. I can't remember exactly, but it's a very good interview. Watch it. You'll learn a lot. Here you go. You guys, we got Russell Brunson with us. I don't even know if he needs an introduction, to be perfectly honest. He loves secrets.
My license plate says so.
Yeah, when he came in, of course, he's got this license plate that just says secrets on it. And I'm like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And I just wonder, what's the weirdest thing somebody said to you about seeing that? Because you got to be like, this guy made his money in some weird way.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like when I first got started, I've been in this game 20 years now. Like when people were like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, oh, I sell stuff on the internet. And they're like, oh, it was always either like, so do you sell things on eBay or are you in porn? That was the two things. And
those are the only two options.
That's the secrets people ask that. Like, so like, what is the secret? Like, what, anyway, so it's usually something related to that.
And which one was it?
Yeah. eBay.
Of course. Well, let's, do you want to give any background? I mean, Russell started ClickFunnels. You've done a million other things. You just bought Dan Kennedy's company, which is pretty amazing.
Really
we'll
fun.
have to talk about that.
Yeah. And about a dozen other companies this year. We bought a lot of companies.
Geez, really? Okay.
I don't talk much about it, but we have been doing that.
Okay.
We're in
I'd love
phase.
to hear about that because that's something Cam and I are starting to do. I've realized that trying to create almost passive income using like, whether it's crypto or stocks or this or that, it's like, doesn't actually fit within what I know.
Yeah.
Like, what if we just buy companies that
what's crazy is you can buy them for free right now too, which is nuts. I can talk about it if you want, but yeah.
I definitely crazy. Do. Okay. Yeah. Let's start with, because you actually said you've been doing this for 20 years. I want to know about your first dollar you made online.
Yeah.
I've heard about the potato gun. I think you've seen the Muscle Funson where I said that I had a tomato gun business and the tomatoes would break upon impact. They're not as sturdy as potatoes, but so is the potato gun, was that the first dollar?
It actually wasn't. No, it was the first thing like that I could talk about. Everything else was just dumb. Like I did affiliate marketing. I did, I bought like resale rights was a huge thing back 20 years ago. And I was at Boise State. So I was in classes trying to like learn this stuff. And I'd sneak out the computer lab and I'd, be watching listening to Frank Kern teleseminars because pre-video, right? So listen to Frank Kern, Armin Moore.
Frank was before you.
Yeah, Frank was before me.
Okay.
Yeah, his underachiever thing. I actually bought that from him later, but like the underachiever thing he had way back almost 20 years ago was like he was talking about like finding a niche and then building a thing. And so that was when I was like, well, what's my niche? And then potato guns. But I had done a couple things prior to that. Like my first actual product was a software product called ZipRander. It was the first idea I ever had. I was in college and I tried to hire a programming company to build it, and they wanted like $10,000, which I didn't have. So I literally switched my major to programming so I could learn how to program this idea that I thought was gonna be the greatest thing in the world. And like day 3 of programming class, I was like, I have no idea what these teachers are talking about. And then I remember I heard Armin Moore, who had like 10 software products back then. He's like, oh, I hired people off Scriptlance to build it. So I took the same project I did. I'd sent to this programming company, put on Scriptlance, and I hired this dude named Cyprian in Romania, and he built it for $20. And I was like,
$20?
All right, it's on like Donkey Kong. Now I know how to play this game. And I started making my first 10 products were all little software products. And that was before the potato gun. I was making software products, these little one-off dorky.
What did it do?
Things.
What was the first one? What did it
so ZipRander. So I remember back in the day, everyone was selling resale rights. So you'd buy an ebook and then you download it. And I remember
And then you could sell it.
Yeah,
It was
you
like
could sell
somebody
it.
else wrote the content,
Yeah.
but you were allowed to sell it
Yeah.
as your own.
But if you read the content, like the person who's giving resale rights was smart. Like they wrote an ebook, but the ebook was like selling their back end stuff, right?
Okay.
And so I'd be selling this book, and then they'd be making all this money off me. And so as an annoyed, 21-year-old kid, I was like, I wish I could like brand this. So the first thing they did when they opened it, they'd see my ad before they read the book. And I was like, oh, that was the idea. So it's called Zip Brander. It was gonna like zip the file down, and then when you opened it, you saw my ad first. That was the big idea, which is actually a stupid idea. But at the time, I thought like it was big enough in my head.
Like almost like a pop-up for a book.
Yeah, totally a pop-up for a file.
Yeah, people love pop-ups. So
Yeah,
I can't believe it didn't take off.
But it was the first thing. I mean, I thought it was so big that I changed my major to like figure out how to make that thing, right? But
did you change your major back?
Yeah, no. Yeah.
So you have a programming degree?
Computer information systems.
Okay.
But I graduated with 2.1 GPA. So I don't know actually how to do any of it. But
okay.
I got C's get degrees. But anyway, yeah, that was my very first thing. I did sell, like I made a sales letter. Like I did the whole process, right? Like I got some design, an e-cover of the software box, and I wrote a sales letter. And I remember I sent it to this guy named Raymond McNally, and he wrote back, he's like, this is the coolest idea and the worst sales letter ever. He's like, I wrote you a new sales letter last night. And this dude wrote me an entire sales letter
for free,
just like to help me out. And so I had the sales letter, I had the image, and this is before ads or Facebook or anything. And so then I started like just sending my product for free to a whole bunch of people. And I think Mike Filsaime might have been the first person.
How were you sending it out at that point? So this is because what year? This must be early
20 years ago. So what's that? 2002. Yeah.
Holy shit.
And so, yeah, I was just emailing it to people. I like email, so Mike, I still remember Mike Filsaime, his email address was like sign-in-drive@hotmail.com. And so like, I sent him an email, like, here's the product. And he wrote back, this is cool. And then he sent an email to his list, and we made like 12 sales. I was like, oh my gosh, like we made,
that's amazing.
So that was like the first thing. And then from that, I had a little pop-up on the site. And so I got some people join my email list. And then I remember that very first promo that Filsaime did, I got 217 people. I remember the number to this day, 217 people joined my email list from the pop-up. And I was like, I have a list. And so then I went to somebody else. I was like, hey, if you promote my thing, I'll promote your thing to my list. I didn't tell them I only had 200 people. And so they promoted my thing. And I got another 500 people that joined the list, my pop-up, and I promoted their thing. And I started doing these little cross promos. And then it was like, my second software, I was in, I spent a lot of time in forums, like doing forum marketing.
Were you in the
Warrior Forum and
just the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah,
the people there are
the best. But I would make like all these posts, and I could never like find them again. So I was like, I need software that would like follow up, so I could remember if someone posted it, I could find all these posts. And so my second product was called Forum Fortunes. Again, I paid someone $100 or something to make the software, and that was the second one. And then I sold that to my little email list. Good. And then I had one called Article Spider. So there's a bunch of those little things.
So you basically just if you had a problem, you were like, can I solve this with the software?
Or a lot of times I'd see someone who had a really cool software, but it was like $300. I was like, I could code that I have my guys code that for $300, and then I could sell it. And then instead of becoming a cost, it became a product. Because a lot of my things were just like, oh, I could hire someone to make that one and that one.
So because I thought you were an info product guy or a
It all started software.
So it started with software, and now it's still.
So that was what was happening,
software. And
I was having some success with it. And that's when Frank Kern came out the Underachiever thing, and I was like, "Oh, what's my thing?" And so Potato Guns was the first info thing I did. So that's a more interesting story for the masses. When I'm telling my story.
Well, also the fact
Here's
that
this
you're
thing
from
called
Idaho.
Yeah.
The fact that you're like, I literally made money by teaching people how to shoot potatoes out of guns.
Much better story. So that's what I would lead with. But
how did that actually happen?
So again, I bought Kern's course, went through it all, and I was like, I have no talent. So I don't know what I'm going to do. And then, do you remember Overture? Is that before your time?
See, I might be before my time.
You're a young
one. In 2002, I was 12 years old.
Oh, serious?
Yeah. So you're like, I had an email address, and I'm like, I was just starting to experience the joys of puberty at that point. I was just trying to figure out. I looked like Rosie O'Donnell at that point. I was a chubby little guy. I don't know if we'll be able to pull up a picture.
I sure hope so.
Today, but that picture is fantastic. I mean, it looks like, I'm pretty sure my dad shagged Rosie O'Donnell. Like, it's a spitting image when I was a kid. But that was what I was doing in 2002. Okay. Yeah.
Well, there was a site called Overture back in the day, and it was the first keyword research thing. And it was Yahoo did it. So Yahoo results. So you type in a keyword, and it show you this is how many people searched on Yahoo for the keyword.
Okay.
And so I remember that was something that Frank showed in the course. So I went there. I typed in, it was after spring break. My buddies and I, we were the only two married guys on the wrestling team. And so spring break hit, and everyone else was like, boom, heading to Vegas or Wendover to go gamble and have fun. And, Nate and I, our wives were supporting us and working. And so they like they weren't excited about us
You
leaving
didn't want to
town.
go to Vegas.
Yeah, and it's not really my
Yeah,
style.
that's not your
And
thing.
so our wives are working. So Nate's like, hey man, let's make a potato gun this week. I'm like, what's a potato gun? He's like, oh, so we spent the whole spring break making a potato gun. And then when we got done, I was like, that was really fun. And then the next Monday,
Did you shoot it?
Yeah, I went and shot it. In fact, there's a whole funny story. Went out behind the airport shooting it. And as we're shooting it, this big tank thing drives up. And apparently we were on like army ground or something. Yep. And this big sergeant come out in his thing. And they start yelling at us. And my wife was pregnant with our twins at the time. She thought we were going to jail. She was freaking out. And then the guy was like, he was kind of a jerk at first. And then at the end, he's like, so how far does it shoot? Like, show it to me. And so then we spend the next like 30 minutes with the army dudes, like shooting the guns and stuff. And then they're like, just, you can shoot them, just don't shoot them like here because we can see these on our radar and that, you're going to go to jail.
He could see the potatoes on
apparently,
the radar?
Yeah. Or I don't know if it's the potatoes or us drive or something, but yeah, they totally saw us and then
thought this is the fastest ship we've seen out here. What is this UFO out here? It's a bunch of potatoes.
Yeah, we are in Idaho.
It's some 21-year-old wrestler shooting potatoes. I thought we were in danger right here.
Oh,
wow,
yeah.
that's pretty
so
outrageous.
Much fun. But yeah, that's when I went the next Monday at school. I went to Overture and I was like, potato gun. I typed it in and I think there's like 18,000 people searching potato guns. And I was like, this is it. This is my product. And so that started the very first
like
product.
Plans.
Yeah, it was plans. Well, Nate and I spent the whole week building stuff. So we built like 10 different versions and most of them didn't work or they didn't work as well. And there's like the one that was our favorite one. So I'm like,
the one that the army contracted.
Yep.
This is how you really made your first money. He's like, actually the army hired us to develop
that would have been such a better sales letter than what we had
to develop rocket launchers. That would have been a great story in the sales letter.
That would have been.
The army wants this potato gun technology.
Can you imagine if we got film or video of the dude? Like, things would have done now.
In uniform?
Yeah, totally in uniform, big old boots and everything and coming. Yeah.
Potato guns would still be popular right now
awesome.
had you done that.
Had I have had our phones back then to film everything.
So did you even have a computer like at home?
We didn't have
or were you literally going to the computer lab to like do work?
We had a really crappy computer, my wife's computer, because my wife's older than me, so she had invested in a computer, but it was not nice. We had one of that at the house, and then I'd go to school and then most work in the school computer lab.
That's pretty what people have all these excuses nowadays, I feel like.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like you have a supercomputer.
You have
in
your
pocket,
phone, yeah.
And you're like, I was on dial-up at a computer lab.
We didn't have like cameras. Like there wasn't phones with cameras. So, like we had I borrowed a video camera from somebody, like like one of those dad cameras that you go film, with the little thing that zooming in and out. And so we borrowed a camera. We actually broke into Boise State University. And on the whiteboard, like mapped out. If you've watched the DVD, you'll see it's like in a classroom, Boise State, and like we wrote out the formulas and filmed ourselves doing it. Went to Home Depot and filmed ourselves buying the pipes. And then my wife's work went back office and like she worked at a warehouse, and so we'd go back there and we were cutting it and gluing it all together. But yeah, it was all filmed on this old camera we had to give back, and then we had to figure out like we have this tape, right? Like how do you get that on a computer and onto a DVD? And there's so many things we had to figure out, and then we finally got that all figured out, and we started burning it on DVDs. I bought a DVD burner, so we burned the DVDs and we sell them. We put it in the thing and ship it out. And
so you were shipping them. So how did you actually get traffic? Because you had this list of people who were into software or internet marketing products, right?
Yeah,
but
completely unrelated.
People who were like, but I also love potato guns.
So there were two big potato gun forums back in the day. I don't know if
they were full around. Forums.
Yeah, they're just two forums, just people talking about spud guns
guns.
Yeah,
okay,
and which was really cool. The hard part is a lot of those people in there were like hardcore, like they were making these insane guns, like bolt action, like we could like shoot potatoes. They had like dudes building these like semi-automatic ones where you could like load 6 potatoes into that, like crazy stuff. It's like I'm coming up with potato gun plans and people are making fun of it, but they sold ads. There's a banner at top and on the side. So I bought the banner ads, and sure enough, all the newbies would come and buy our potato gun plans because no one was selling them. Everyone's talking about
they're
stuff.
all talking. Yeah. So what how much were you? Do you remember the first sale and like what I bet you paid? What you paid? And
I can't remember if there was that one, and also I was buying Google Ads. Google Ads were easy back in the day too. So like I was also buying Google Ads. Those are the two. I can't remember where the first sale came from, but yes, I do remember it coming through. And I was like, somebody did. And I remember Nate was my buddy who did the thing with me. I messaged him. I was like, dude, somebody just bought one. He's like, somebody paid us for that crap. I was like, yeah, dude, like, yeah. And he's like, well, what do we do now? I'm like, well, we gotta go figure out. Like now we gotta burn so we had to go figure out the whole like. Because we had the file on the computer and we had to burn a DVD, and then we bought a sticker with the printer to be able to print a sticker and stick it on, right? And like just all those little things we had to do to get it out.
What did you sell it for?
I think it was $37. That's what Kern told us to sell for.
Wow.
Yeah,
especially then. That's pretty good. I mean, that's pretty good price.
Yeah,
because then they got to buy all the gear. They got to make the potato gun.
Because that was the first thing, and then again, if you've heard the whole story of the funnel story, right? Like that's what it was. And then Google Ads changed and costs went up. And then later we found in Northern Idaho, there's a distributor that actually makes and ships potato guns. They still to this day do. In fact, I bought some, we did a kit event last 2 months ago. So I bought a bunch of them from them.
We need to write that down. We need some potato guns for Wolfpack Week that we can shoot off the mountain at Whitehawk. 100%. That's happening.
Yes. And in fact, if you want good ones, there's
I do. I don't want an average potato gun.
Dude, I bought one recently. It's a mount that looks like a pistol, like an actual gun. That's just a barbecue igniter on the back end that is what you need, but it looks like a big old handheld pistol that you like glue to the gun. So it looks like, anyway, they're insane. There's some really cool ones out there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cam, you're listening, right? You know that we're going to be shooting potatoes.
I'll give you the resource list after the call. It'll be awesome.
How much? $37?
Yeah, no, the kids are more expensive, but we did a partnership with them. And so that became the first upsell. It's like, people buy the DVD, and then the upsell was like, hey, instead of going and buying all the pipes and stuff, there's these kits. And so
it was a kit. So that wasn't pre-made. They shipped it and then put it together.
It was all pre-cut, everything. Say they get it.
Awesome.
You have to glue it together, and then
of course they were in Northern Idaho.
Yeah, is that
that's
awesome?
where they would be.
Totally.
I mean, if there's a company that's already making pre-made potato
definitely here.
Kits.
But they've been doing them for like 20 years now because they're still doing them this day, which is crazy. So I don't know. I haven't looked at that market in a while, but enough of these guys are still building 20 years later.
There's probably some opening. There's going to be the next Russell Brunson is watching right now going, you know what? I'm gonna redo potato guns and I'm gonna have
I own potato guns.
ClickFunnels.
Somebody needs it. Let me know. I can.
Do you seriously have that? Oh my God.
Come on now.
You have every combination of words plus secrets.
Secrets, hacker, and there's usually every variation of every.
How many domains do you think you
have? 3,000 or 4,000 probably.
Wow.
Yeah. I've been buying it for a long time.
What's your favorite domain?
Oh crap. That's a good one. I can tell you the most expensive ones. That might be easier.
Yeah.
Like I bought bootstrap.com. There's a lot. Mastermind.com I bought and gave to Dean and Tony. That was a lot.
Oh, you bought mastermind.com and then you
gifted it to him.
You just gave it to him for free? Is that how you kind of got in? Is that what got
I was in with them already, but
that's a pretty good domain name to give them.
Yeah. Well, I told Dean to go buy it, and he messaged him. They wanted $1 million for it, and then I went to the site, and their ClickFunnels users, they're holding 2 Comma Club awards on the thing. I was like,
oh really?
Okay. And so we messaged him again and negotiated. I think it cost me $600,000. So I got it, and then I was like, what do you give Tony Robbins to like impress him? It's not easy. Like the government like gives him Black Hawk helicopters to go fly for fun. You know what I mean? Like, how do I impress him? So I was like, okay, I'm just going to give it to him. And so I just gave it to him. And then, so that was kind of
fun. That is a good question. How do you impress Tony Robbins?
Yeah. Actually, do you want to hear something funny?
I do. I love
the very first time I met Tony Robbins, the whole long story behind that, but I was in Toronto at his event and he invited me up, and I went to this hotel room and had dinner with him, and he was asking a bunch of questions. And the first thing he told me though was like, he looked at me, he's like, so potato guns, huh? And I was like, oh my gosh. Like he did his research ahead of time. I'm like, yeah. And so after that event was over, I'm like, I'm sure he meets 1 million people. I'm like, how's he going to remember me tomorrow? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to be the guy who's just like,
pretty memorable.
Yeah. So the actual potato gun we built on the How to Make Potato Gun DVD, I still had, and he has a house in Sun Valley, Idaho. And so I found out from the assistant's address. And so I shipped him the original potato gun and the DVD to his house. And then he only visits like once a year. So I didn't hear anything from him for like 8 months. And then one day I get this message. He's like, dude, I just got in Idaho and there's this potato gun thing. He's like, how does it work? I want to do it. So him and his wife went in the backyard and they made videos of them shooting my potato gun. And they said they sent me the videos like 5 times. I never got them, which to this
if
day,
there's a video you want, it's Tony Robbins shooting a potato
the
gun.
Original potato gun. Yeah.
It must have looked so small in his hands.
It's like
it's a potato pistol. He's just like, this actually is huge, but it just looks tiny in his hands.
But that was the first thing I said him, because I was like, I wanted to always remember me. So that was the first thing I sent him. And I said, then a decade later, I gave him that one. And anyway,
it was that long between.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you?
Tony's a long date. Like if you want to get to know him, it's not.
Well, that's the thing. I would not want his life in a million years. Like, if you're breaking your life into like 33-minute sections, that just seems horrible. It just seems so intense.
Yeah, he is intense.
So how did that happen? What was the progression there? Like, how did you meet him the first time, and then how did it progress to?
Yeah, so the very first time was it was during the crash of 2008, and so his business was like, he was struggling, right? His entire business had been on TV up to that point. Crash hits, and nothing's really working for him. So he had tried to hire some marketing people to bring him online, And I think he had like 3 or 4 people coming in to pitch him. And then somehow he met like Kern and Mike Koenigs and those guys. And so they got to come and pitch Tony. So they were the very first to pitch Tony. It's supposed to be like a 30-minute meeting, and they kind of pitched like what they were doing. And Tony was so blown away. The other 2 groups, I guess, were out in the lobby or whatever waiting for him. And he had messaged him, like, send the other people home. Sent him home, and he spent like 8 hours with Mike and Frank and those guys. And he just showed him our world. And Tony was so blown away. And so he's like, I want to do something, I'm going to create something. And so they worked with Tony to build the New Money Masters DVD series, which was him interviewing a bunch of internet marketers about how we were doing stuff back in the day. And so they started filming those. And at the time, I was the only person in our industry that had a call center. We had a call center here in Boise with like 60 sales guys. And so they basically told Tony, like, the way this business works is you sell this thing on the front end, then you call them on the phone and sell them coaching. And they're like, Brunson's the one that's got the call center. Like, you need to meet Brunson to do the call center for you. So, and this all happened without me knowing anything. Also, one day at the Blue, I get a call from Jay Garrity, Tony's assistant at the time, and was like, hey, Tony wants to meet you today. Can you meet him? And I was like,
I got stuff going on.
Yeah. And I was in Boise, and he's like, well, we're in Salt Lake. Like, can you come over? They thought I lived in Utah. I'm like, no, I'm in Boise. And
like, how people think that it's the same.
They all think it's the same. Yeah.
They're like, it's Utah, Idaho. It's the same place.
Yeah. Like, just drive down real quick.
Well, we have slightly fewer Mormons.
Way more potatoes.
More potatoes and
less Mormons. I'm working on that side though. Anyway. But that was like, yeah. So he's like, okay, we'll totally meet in Toronto next week. You do an UPW, come up as this guest. And then anyway, so I flew him next week at UPW. That's where I met him. That's where I had the dinner with him. And then I didn't hear from him for like 4 or 5 months. I'm like, oh crap, he hated me. And then he messaged me again. Jay messaged me out of the blue. It's like, hey, Tony's doing an event in Fiji in 2 weeks. Do you want to come speak at it? And while you're there, he wants to see if you want to be one of the, if he can record an interview you to be one of the DVDs for the New Money Master series. I was like, yeah.
So we're going to
holy crap. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing.
And it was funny because
what were you actually doing at that time? Like, what made you, because you had the call center, and that's why he was like, this is the guy.
Yeah.
So what were you actually doing then?
So we were, so our business model, we'd figured out, we were selling a free DVD, someone would buy the free DVD, and then we call them on the phone and sell them a high-end coaching package. That was the model back then. Right. And so we did it. And then
was it marketing related stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we were doing that. And then Kern came out with something. We did the back end leads for him. We did it for Phil Sane. We did it for like a dozen guys who in the space, because everyone, like, we figured out that was the model. Everyone wanted to shift that model, but nobody else wanted to build a call center. So we had a big call center here. And so everyone else was doing free plus shipping stuff. We do the back end phone sales. And then that was kind of
like 2008, 9, 10.
Yeah, about that.
Okay.
Yeah, it was right during the whole crash, 2008, like around that area.
So then you go to Fiji.
Which was so cool. And so I got to, you're on Tony's actual private resort, and it's really small. And so we did, hung out there, and then I got to speak, and it was in a room with like, I don't know, maybe 80 attendees in this little room. And Tony sat in the back of the room, listening to me speak, which was like the most intimidating, scary thing in the world. Yeah. And I remember because I was teaching basic, like direct, digital marketing. We didn't call that back then. It was basic, I remember teaching about a squeeze page. You have a squeeze page. People
and people like, oh my God.
Well, I remember because Tony raised his hand and said, isn't it true our squeeze page is dead? He said this to me in 2010 or whatever. And I was just like, oh, I'm like, no, they still work. He's like, oh, because I heard from my friends that it's dead. I'm like, no, like, anyway, which is funny because this day we still use the same a decade thing. Later, they still work.
Yeah.
But like he called me out during my presentation on stage asking if they were dead, which was so intimidating. That happened. And then the next day we went to his actual house on the property and went to the back deck, and we filmed him interviewing me, which was insane. And then we left, and I didn't hear from him for like 5 years. I was just like,
5 years.
Once again, I think he hates me. And then out of the blue, like, it's weird, like weird things would happen. So like, you remember the 12-Month Millionaire book? Like Vince James.
I don't.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to send one. It's the greatest marketing book on the planet.
This is not Ryan Daniel Moran's 12 months to a million.
No, this is the guy named Vince James wrote a book like, it's called The 12-Month Millionaire. And it was how he made $100 million in 23 months selling supplements through direct mail. And it's insane. So I did a partnership with the guy, and we're selling that book for him. It's big. It's like the size of a phone book. It's a huge old fat book. And it's like I was selling that at the time, and that's like you pop up on Tony's radar every once in a while. It's like he saw that, so popped up. Hey, can you give me?
He's like, he just saw the ad.
Saw the ad or the email. I don't really know. Who knows?
That's one of those weird things. I bet a lot of famous people have seen your ads.
You want something weird? The other day on Instagram, Hugh Hefner's ex-wife messaged me, and she wants to build a course and be on ClickFunnels and all these things.
Which ex-wife? Didn't he have like
the one that
wives?
the one that he was married to when he died? Her last name's still Hefner. And I was like, I don't even know how to respond
She
to
just
like,
DM'd you.
yeah, DM me. I'm like, this is weird. I don't, yeah. It's like, there's always weird stuff
Yeah,
like
what's
that.
it? What did your wife think of that one? She's
Yeah,
like,
I didn't
don't
respond
know.
back to her. I'm
What's
like,
the course going to be? How to marry an old rich guy and take
know.
all his money?
I have no
That'd
idea.
probably sell like crazy. That's a
This is a great
idea.
offer. It's way better
I'll
than
buy
potato
that one.
guns.
Shit, I'll marry Hugh Hefner to get all that. That's not a bad course.
Yeah. But anyway, there's like stuff like that. Like people, yeah, it's surprising to me how many people now, like in the real world, like big celebrities now are starting to see our world and keep bumping into us in different spots. Like Tony's next launch is Matthew McConaughey is like the main speaker on Tony's next big launch is coming up next month, which is crazy. And like they're building courses with Matthew McConaughey and like helping him. Like it's just crazy how like the real celebrity world and our world are like now bumping into each other and becoming.
Well, because that's the thing is celebrities changing as well, right? With TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, like what young kids think of as somebody sugar daddy secrets.
Quick, buy that somebody.
Russell's like, already own it. Thought about that one a while ago. Yeah, I think the celebrities changed, like what is a celebrity? Because I think for my generation still, it's like, to me, it's like movie stars. Those are celebrities, or like actors and TV shows. But to younger people, it's like YouTubers.
Yep.
Those are like, to them, they're like more popular almost than an A-list celebrity.
If I was asking my kids,
see how that happens.
Mr. Beast versus whoever, they would have, they'd
go Mr. Beast.
100%. Yeah. Who would I go meet? Like Tom Cruise or Mr. Beast? Like who's Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise. Okay.
Yeah, or whoever.
They're wrong on that one.
Tom
Cruise is so this is actually really funny. So I was saying to Whitney, I love Tom Cruise, man. Even when he was doing all the weird stuff and people are like, he's crazy. I'm like, I don't care. You put a Tom Cruise movie on and I'm watching the whole thing. Minority Report, edge of my seat the entire time.
Even like five times in. I've seen 5 times.
He's unbelievable. The fact is he is. The movies are great. Even people always, I'm like, I don't care what you think. I love Tom Cruise, and now he's made people don't care anymore about when he was jumping around on couches or whatever, and that he's a Scientologist and all that stuff. But I watched a bunch of like Top Gun related material on YouTube after it had come out, and he's just such a likable dude, and he's so interesting. And I said to Whitney, I was like, God, if there was ever something I was doing and Tom Cruise would give me a motivational speech, there's no way I'm not winning whatever that is, no matter what. That weekend, I'm watching Formula One, and he's in the pit with Mercedes, and Lewis Hamilton has his best race of the year. And I'm like, no wonder I bet you Tom Cruise is like, look, here's what we need. You're going to be my wingman today, Lewis. And Lewis has his best race of the entire year while Tom Cruise is in the Mercedes pit. And I'm like,
we need to hire Tom Cruise.
I bet it's
what
only $100 million for an hour or something. How would you even get Tom Cruise?
I'm sure he's got an agent. We tried to get The Rock for something, and who literally, if you ask Alexa, like, who's the most popular person in the world? The Rock is who knows if that's true or not, but we try to get him.
What he did is he's used social media. He's the only really big celebrity who's decided to use that. And he's, multiracial. He's like everybody. He's everything.
Everyone loves The Rock.
Like, he just hit all of it, no matter how many steroids he uses.
Everyone's like, no, he doesn't. Nope.
It's like, human is gigantic. The fact that you could even think that he's not is insane.
Yeah. All the women I know are like, oh, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear that.
We have a cutout of him.
I saw it.
Because when we went through traction.
Is it life size?
It's life size. He's 6'3". He's just,
I'm gonna stand next
a little
to it.
taller. It's you have to take it. It's fantastic. But we did traction, the EOS stuff.
Yep.
And so every 90 days you set your rocks. And so I said to implementer, I'm like, so we got to get our Dwayne Johnsons done by the next 90 days. And she goes, what? And I'm like, our Dwayne Johnsons. And she was like, nobody has ever done that. She does say that we are the most fun group she works with. She's got like old people that are manufacturers and stuff. But so we got the cutout because this is the Hoffus. Yeah. So we might get a David Hasselhoff as well for the Hoffus, but that's why we have Dwayne Johnson up there, is because we call our rocks Dwayne Johnson.
That's amazing.
So
we did ours last week. I should have done that. Okay, I might steal that for our team.
You do traction?
Yeah. So I have a guy, our new COO, who's been here for the year. He's amazing.
I think I met
I don't
him
know.
last time I was
Kevin
in it with the beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know what exactly he does. I think he does more. I think he's yeah. I hate operations. Like, I'm the least operational person. Like, anything operations, like, I'm like, I don't do meetings. I don't do that stuff.
You sounded like Will Ferrell in Wedding Crashes. I don't know what she's doing back there. I don't know what he does, but he works for us.
Yeah. But I do know we do rocks. We do stuff. So it's probably based on traction. I don't know what else. But
okay.
Like I said, and this hopefully for those of the entrepreneurs who are listening who hate operations, like, I hate operations more than anything on this planet. So I try to distance myself as far as possible from it as much as I can. They loop me in the meetings I have to be in, but anything else. So I do have to do the meeting once a quarter on our Dwayne Johnson's.
On your Dwayne Johnson's, yeah. You got to bring a cutout. They're like, what are you doing? So that's a good sort of transition. I'm curious, what do you think, if you had to boil it down to like one reason why you've been successful as you are, what do you think that is?
I'm obsessed with the art of this game. Like, I just love it. If you look at this business, there's 3 personality types you have to be successful in the business. And I wish I understood this when I got started, because we only had 2 of the 3 for the first, until a year ago, to be honest. And the 3 personality types you have. Number 1, you got to have someone who's obsessed with the product, right? There's a product person. Number 2, someone who's obsessed with the marketing. And then number 3, someone who's obsessed with operations. Like, if I ever start a new company in the future, it's like, those are the 3 people I need. And then from there, everything else will grow, right? The problem with most entrepreneur-based businesses is operations. At first, we don't need operations because we're just marketing and selling, right? That's what we do. So we go build these companies, we blow it up. And then also the customers come and they're like, oh crap, and you operate. You need someone to manage people, and we try to figure it out. And that's why most, especially like internet marketing run businesses, end up failing eventually, because they suck at like the actual dealing with the people and stuff. Yeah. Oh yeah. And so it's like,
they're good at selling.
Like, you don't need the operations person on day. Well, in our heads, we don't need it day one. We need it like after we've had success. But the reality is, like, you need that person. So when you do have success, the success lasts longer than the launch or the promotion of the campaign, right?
Right.
And so, like when ClickFunnels launched, like, Todd is my business partner. He's obsessed with the product, and I was obsessed with the marketing. So we could sit there and spend, he could spend his every waking hour, 80 hours a week during the building phase, focus on that. I could focus on the marketing and the sales. And so we just were so obsessed with our piece of the pie that we made stuff that was great. And so, I mean, that's honestly, I think most people are in this business because they want to make money. But man, like, yes,
So you still love marketing.
Oh, why do I keep doing this? Like,
yeah,
I just bought a company yesterday that's not in my market at all, because I know the marketing plan for it that I'm freaking so excited to execute on, because it's just like,
this is your thing.
Yeah.
Like, this is why you're here.
100%.
Like, you haven't gotten tired of it. You're not like, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna do something else. This marketing stuff.
What else would I do? Like, everything else seems stupid. Like, this is so, it's like the greatest game in the world. And at the end of it, you make, like, you play a video game, and at the end of it, you get your high score. Here we play a video game, and then we get paid. And they're like, oh my gosh, like, I'm gonna buy a house and turn it into an office. You do whatever you want to do at this point. But this is how much I love the art. So, because people always ask me, oh, well, you're lucky because you're teaching them to make people make funnels, and funnels are cool. I'm like, funnels were not cool when I got started. Like,
you made funnels.
I used to do here in Boise, I would do events. I would advertise on the radio. We did direct mail campaigns to do events to go fill the Holiday Inn on Vista. Need people to show up, and I would sit there.
We're gonna have to ask you about that, Cam. Did you hear that? Because we do our events here, and we're like, we gotta try some local ads and see what we can do here.
Yeah, I can tell you all stats. I mean, it's been a while since we did them, but like, it was fascinating. And like, I remember doing this event. We had 3 times during the day. So we had radio and direct mail to fill this event. We got there, and the very first session, 2 people showed up, and I was like so embarrassed. I have a huge room with seats, everything, and 2 people showed up. Even though they had RSVP, people just didn't come. And I did the event, and most of them were like, "Oh, this sucks. I'm making money. I would have been done." But that was 20 years ago. I did the event with 2 people, and then another one where there's 4 people, and then 8
Literally
people,
2 people,
and then 10 people, 2 people. Yeah, and I'm like, this sucks, and I'm awkward and introverted anyway. So it's like, the bigger the audience, the more comfortable I am. With 2 people, I'm like,
right.
Oh, like, but like, I was talking about when there were 2 people in the room, and then 10 people, and people are like, how'd you get 6,000 people at Funnel Hacking Live? It's like, because I've been doing this for 2 decades. Like, I've cared enough. I consistently keep doing it because I love this so much. Like, when there were 2 people, I kept doing it. When there were 4 people, and there were 8 people, and there were 10 people. Most people, they do something like, oh, only 10 people show up. I did a YouTube video, I got 30 likes. Like,
yeah,
who cares? Like, if you actually care, like, if you're obsessed with this thing, it doesn't matter. Like if you're obsessed with the art. So for me, it's like this point, like, I just, like, I love this game. It's so much fun. It's so exciting. Yeah. Every day we come in, it's like, okay, what can we do? What should we do? Like, what, and
well, and I can attest that being at your office, the amount of books, like, it looks like a crazy person
And I didn't take you to the
is
library.
there.
So I'm building, I'm
Yeah, you
building a
told me,
20,000 square foot library. So I have another office that's just storing my books right now because there's no room for them. I've conservatively in the last 6 months probably bought 3,000 books, all first editions from like the early 1900s, like advertising, marketing, personal development, success, like because this is my art. This is the game I'm in, right? And so,
how many of the books? How often are you reading?
I read a little bit every day, not a lot. I part of it, again, it's like I'm collecting this thing because there's a business I'm building behind it. So I'm collecting all these first editions, and then a lot of one of the first business I ever got into back in the day was public domain, which is books whose copyrights have expired and you can republish those things. And so a lot of things I'm buying because we're turning them into businesses, into offers and things like that. And so all those books the ones that are like worth republishing, I'm reading, we're republishing, I'm making audiobook for, like, there's a whole bunch of stuff we're doing with them. But that's a probably 5-hour event we could do later, going deep into like the model behind that. But yeah, it's another business. Like they're all.
So what does your day look like? Because there's so many things, and I understand, like I get super excited about stuff, but then I'm like less excited later. Like mine doesn't, I'm like, super quick start, like,
yeah,
let's do this. And now basically most of my job for myself is just telling myself to do less. Like I'm going to write a book literally just called Do Less Shit Better, because there's so many things. And I found that the more stuff I do, the worse results I get, rather than just staying focused on like the core model, the core thing.
Yeah.
So at this point, obviously ClickFunnels is now, working whether you work on it or not, right? Like it's got its
but
base,
also we're about to launch ClickFunnels 2.0. So that's our biggest focus by far, is the new relaunch and the new software and all that kind of stuff.
How much better is it?
Oh, it's night and day. It's in my mind, it's the future, right? We tried to like, I mean, the first time we built ClickFunnels, we built it on the technology that was good 8 years ago.
Right.
And we built it based on what we do 8 years ago. Now it's like, now we know what people want. We know how we wish it would have been. Technology is a million times better now. So it's just faster, better.
So it's a full redo, huh?
We literally, when we decided to build it, we didn't tell anybody in our entire company, not even our other partners. Like it was me, Todd, and Dave. 3 people knew about it. And then Todd, kind of like Steve Jobs built his Skunkworks division inside of Apple to build his thing. We did the same thing where Todd built this thing. It was just him at first. And then he started bringing in the best of our developers and made them literally like swear in, like they had to go through a whole like hour-long thing with Todd. They had to like sign a contract. They wouldn't tell anybody in our company or anybody what they're working on.
Why was that?
Because when you're we didn't want.
Is the rest of your company finding out about this right now?
Yeah. Hey guys. No, but we did have a meeting eventually about a year into it. Like, this is the plan, because people started getting more confused. Like, why are you pulling the best developers off? Like, why are they disappearing? Like, what are they doing? And like, finally I tell everybody, but because we have a platform with 100,000 plus members on it. And like, if everyone's like, oh, this next thing would shift over here, like we could have lost everything. So it's like, we have to have this separate thing. We can't shift focus or deviation. Like, this has to continue to develop and improve and get better. But eventually we're going to lose our business if we don't build the new thing. Right. Like, and so when we finally decided to do that, it was a separate thing. And but it's amazing. Whole new, built from the ground up, all new technology, all new, just the thought process of how things work and why they work and how to structure, it's what we wish we,
would have done before. How long has it been developing?
2 years.
Damn.
Yeah. And we launched, if you go to CF, the number 2, then POINT and 0.com, there's like the countdown. There's a countdown clock to like when we go live. October 4th is when it goes live to the world. So we're, I think, 80 something days away from it. So yeah, so that's the number one focus. So everything like that defaults, and then all the other stuff's like my side projects of like,
okay. Do you, because you're like taking on stuff where like, oh, I've got this marketing plan. When I hear you say that, I'm like, God, that sounds like a nightmare. Like another thing is, are you just at this point really idea person?
Yeah.
So if you go, this is what we're going to do, there's the people that will actually push your idea forward.
For most things outside of like this, like my unique ability, like I'm going to do the presentation. I'm going to do, like the things that are my unique ability, I still do, but it's very much like, here's the vision. And then I give it to Kevin. Like I make a video, and sometimes they're 30 minutes to an hour-long video. Like, this is what needs to happen, how it's going to work. I've funnel hacked 400 other people. Like, these are what, like, I like how they did this and they did this. And it's like, there's the big brain dump. Excuse me. And then he'll go through it. He'll take it all and project manage it out with like chops it all up into a million. Because that's the thing, is like, we have this vision, then like we get overwhelmed, like, oh crap, there's all these details. Like I hate like I get so the details stress me out so bad. Like, in fact, my team has project management systems. I'm not involved in any of those, because if I see like here's all the tasks that have to happen for that to happen. I just want to give up.
Right.
So I don't see any of that. But then after the vision's done, then I become an employee of the team. So then Kevin's like, Russell, these are your assignments to make this thing happen. Then he's giving me tasks like any other employee, like you gotta write the copy for this, you're doing the video for this. Here's the, and so like I'm now just an employee on the team, and I only see the things I have to do to make it actually happen.
So what is your role now? Like when you say, are you writing all the copy still for the primary?
No, we've got some good copywriters, but I work with them. So it's like this, like I love copy until we get past the initial scroll, and then like, oh, I want to die. But like everything above the fold, like I obsess about that. I love talking about. So it's gonna be Heath on our team is our lead copywriter.
Heath, what's his last name?
Wilcox. Do you know
Yes, Heath? I love Heath.
He's now full time with us.
He's awesome.
He is my favorite copywriter I've ever worked with ever. Yeah, he's insane.
He's a good dude.
And so we sit down and we brainstorm, and then he'll write stuff and I'll write stuff and go back and forth. We get like the right lead, the right message, the right tone, and then he'll go and run and then just do his magic. And he's amazing. And then the email sequences, like I write a lot of those. We actually we have a couple other writers, but I'm involved in those processes.
Do you write the daily emails that you guys send?
Sometimes it depends. I've yet to find someone who really can master my voice. So usually I'm involved in.
Is there a difference in results in the ones that you write versus the ones that are written by others? How significant would you say?
It depends how good they're getting better at modeling me, but it's like it's
your
hard for them to come up
very
with,
unique. That's it's like
it's hard for them to come up with the right hook, right? Like they'll write something, I'm like, what? Like,
even if the voice
sexy.
is
like,
yours, but it's not the idea, then it's not gonna work.
So a lot of times more of it's that me like, hey, I want to email campaigns, 6 emails. Like the first one we should be talking about this, and so I'll give them that, and then they'll write it, and then I'll go back in like and then I'll retweak stuff. So usually it's rarely me just writing everything right now, 100%. It's usually me sending a Vox message like, here's the hook, or here's like the thing I think, or here's a story, like find out, like turn that into an email, and then I'll get that and then I'll tweak.
Do you use that a lot, Voxer?
Oh yeah, I think I'm the only person that uses it still. Like I
remember, I can't remember what it was. It was some time that you were using it. I remember hearing it, and I was like, I don't know if anybody else.
Yeah, I'm the only one. In fact, the company was for sale. They were trying to sell to me because they're like, you're the only person who loves
You're the only guy on here.
But literally, if you want to like any partnership I have, like, or any, like from my family to my relationships to my business to everything, like it all happens on Vox.
So it's just all audio, right?
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Audio, you can 4x speed things. So like someone sent me a 2-minute message, I can get in 30 seconds, and then I can forward messages to people. So I can't imagine
listening to you on 4 times speed. There's no way. There's no way I can understand it.
But it's awesome. It's like if I have an idea, it's like, hey, who needs to be involved in this idea? I'm like, okay, so I make a Voxer group. I throw in the 5 people I need. I sit there, I'm driving, I brain dump the entire idea. Like, this is what I want to do, and then it's over. And then they all got it. And then if I forgot something, I can just forward that message to them or bring them in the group. And so I can, like, I don't have to do meetings now. I can just do a 30-second thing, get the vision to everybody, and then they can start running. Or my coaching programs. Like I used to do coaching calls, and it's the worst. Like if you give someone like a 30-minute coaching call with you, they want to go on a call for 30 minutes and like, oh, this is my time, I got to use it all. It's like, their question is a 20-second question. And so I shifted that to like, for the high-end coaching that I do, like they just message me on Voxer, and they're only allowed to ask me one question at a time, and it can't go over a minute. So usually it's like, they think through it first. They ask me a 30-second question. I listen on 4x speed. So it takes me 10 seconds to listen to it. I respond back yes or no. And the whole coaching call takes 90 seconds as opposed to 90, whatever the time allotted would have been, and they get exactly what they need. So
we got Nathan Barry in the house now.
Hey, what's up, man? And never use ConvertKit because it's the worst. Oh, I'm just kidding.
It's all the clicks and converts and all that. That's what Boise is.
So
it's
confusing.
Just ClickFunnels and ClickBank and ConvertKit. Paul could not figure. All right, this is I got to quickly tell you this because it's a really quick, stupid story. So we're at Craft and Commerce, and Paul, the video guy, this one of the most interesting human beings you'll ever meet in your entire life. He goes to one of the talks at ConvertKit, and he comes out of the, like, it's like a breakout one, and we're like, so what did you learn? He's like, she's talking about some software the whole time. It's like showing how to build pages and stuff. And I was like, oh, what was the software? And he's like, it was kind of like, she's talking about it's kind of a pitch, but not really, but kind of just showing the software. He's like, click something. I was like, ClickFunnels? He's like, no. It's like ClickBank. It's like, no. And I'm like, those are the clicks. Click up. And he's like, no, I don't think it was any of those. And then like later he goes, say something like, oh, this is something about ConvertKit. And he goes, oh, that was the one. And I go, it's their event. And he goes, I had no idea. He literally had no idea that the whole event was put on by ConvertKit, and he couldn't even figure out the fucking name of one of the easiest software names to remember. And that's Paul. That, if you want to know Paul, and for those of you who were here yesterday, he fart pants, that was his idea as well. If you want any pants related ideas, that's Paul's specialty. Oh man. Okay. Sorry, that's just a fun thing to talk about. But okay. So actually, one of the questions I had is, I know you talk about the Dream 100 quite a bit. How much is that truly? And then there's that guy Dana who just like ran with it and built a whole entire business off of it. How much is that really like a part of what you do?
Huge. To this day. Like yesterday, doing Dream 100 stuff. Monday, my entire day is Dream 100, all working towards ClickFunnels 2.0 launch. But it's funny because people are like, oh yeah, I heard you talk about that, and then they pass it. I'm like, right. It literally is the key. Like the Traffic Seekers book, everyone's expecting me to talk about Google ads and Facebook ads and stuff like that. And the first like 75% of the book is like the Dream 100. Like that's the secret to everything. And like,
right. That's how I bought ClickFunnels. I was early.
Uh-huh.
I bought when I was living in San Diego, so this must have been 8 years ago. It was like the start.
We launched 8 years ago.
It was during when you were doing the weekly webinars, I think.
Yeah.
And I can't remember whose list it was that I must have bought from, but it was and I didn't have the money for it at the time, but it was the $2,000 offer. I think it was for the year or something.
Yeah.
It might have been $1,000. No, it was $1,000 then, I think. And I launched my first course like the next week with Derek Johansson, and we made $12,000, and I was making $5,000 a month at my job. So it's like, holy shit, this is incredible.
Stuff actually works.
But that was the first thing. And that was when so that's how you built it, right? You basically went to all these partners.
Yeah. For the first year I think I did year one. I think it was like 70 or 80 webinars the first year. Sometimes it was like, 3 or 4 weeks. Sometimes it was 3 or 4 a day. Just lining them up, and we were doing it until we passed 10 million in sales. After we passed $10 million when I started automating it. But I still, when we do launch our book, we do our front ends, we have full staff, like 3 or 4 people, all their only job is Dream 100, like just connecting and talking to them and sending them stuff and getting promotions lined up. And like, it's always constantly happening.
Is that still then your primary traffic is other people?
Yep. To this day, we get more from our affiliates and all of we're spending $2 million a month on ads, and we get more from our affiliates than we do all the ads combined. And they stick longer. They're better people, like all those things. Like it's crazy to me because even to this day, like when we do our own campaigns, right? Like we'll do our campaign and like 90% of our sales still come from the email. Like to this day, like all the stuff that we talk about and we do from, ads and this and that and all this stuff, like email still trumps all. It's like, if I can get an affiliate to send an email that's worth, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 worth of Facebook ads. So why not have someone full time who just lines those things up?
Well, that's and it's so interesting hearing that because, well, first off, email apparently is still alive, Nathan. So, but this is something that, like with clients I've worked with, will have typically 3 to 4 times lifetime value from somebody else's list versus YouTube, Facebook, anything else. And Cam and I have talked about that like 2 years ago when we decided to partner. We were like, let's do this money DNA quiz and let's do CPL in the make money space, because nobody does CPL offers in our space. It's all in the health space. It's all CPL, right? Like that's what, when BioTrust had to make that change, like we're going to pay $2 a lead, and they absolutely blew up through that model. Same with Geary. That's what they do. They're just like, let's just get emails from other people's lists, because these people open, click, and engage with email. And it's like getting people from TikTok or YouTube onto a list. They might be email people, but they might not. That was actually something from your event that when Sam Parr was talking, and I was like, God, I don't want to do blog posts. But then you realize the reason why those lists are so valuable from blog posts is those people are readers. Yeah. If you watch YouTube, you're not necessarily into reading, but if you read blog posts, especially 1,000-word blog posts, you're probably going to read emails. Yeah. So you guys
sell books. People read books are better people.
Right.
I'm not, but like they're better customers. They're better. Yeah. Yeah. So 100%. That's like people are like, why do you have so many books to your front ends? Because like people read books are the best customers. They're the ones that have the most success. The ones who, it's like, why not create something that generates the dream person? So like you run Facebook ads selling a book, the Facebook people who like books show up and they enter your world. And we have every one of our, because I mean, I probably have more front ends than any other company on the planet, right? So we have however many front ends, but we can track like which front end they came through, how long they stick. And so like the people come through book funnels, stick longer, they last longer.
How do you track all that?
It's a nightmare. There's like 10 different things we use. A lot of it's internal data. So we, obviously ClickFunnels, we can see all that, and that's pulling in all the things from our own internal ClickFunnels tracking, plus Hyros, plus Wicked reports, plus I don't know. It's a whole mess.
Do you know LTV numbers? Do you know Tyler?
My team would know that for sure.
Yeah, because he built the whole software basically using ClickFunnels for LTV tracking.
I don't know.
Yeah, so we've used that a time, and the problem was he didn't have a phone sales component, and that's been a bigger part of our business now. So we use Hyros, and we're using LTV numbers. We're working with them directly to like develop it properly, because if we're buying a bunch of leads, we have to know day 7, day 14, day 30 value and everything. But when we started doing that with the book, especially like my free plus shipping front end, we'd get around a $35 to $50 day 0 value, but they'd be worth like $90 by day 30, I think, and then up to 150 by day 90. So that decision was so completely different when we're like, oh, they're only worth $50 and we're spending $50. But then you look, we're 3x ROAS by day 90. But doing the LTV tracking is what's so tough for the most part.
Yeah, ClickFunnels 2.0 is cool because it has a lot more of that stuff all built in that you'll be able to track, plus CRM components, so you'll be able to track further deeper too. So he should message me, and then we can make sure he connects with us and all the new stuff. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, I'll get the
cool.
We'll get Tyler to connect with you. So Dream 100 is really like, it's almost like when I read Traction the first time, I was like, this is a cool idea. And I didn't realize that it's like,
no, this
is literally an operating system for your entire company.
Yeah.
So you really, like, if you're going to start something new, so when you bought Dan Kennedy's company, is that's step one? So what does that actually look like then? So what is like a Dream?
So I love Trello because it's simple. So I build a Trello board, and then typically what I'll do is I'll make columns for the different platforms, like, social. And Dan's hard because most of his dream partners aren't on socially. Yeah.
You're like, we're going to build a huge list.
Dude, we have a new sales video that's going live in like a week or two that literally after you watch it makes faxes seem like the coolest thing on the planet. Anyway, so
that is actually exciting.
I was at Dan Kennedy's house, and he got a fax machine. There's a sticky note with my fax number on his fax machine. I was like, I've arrived. This is the greatest thing. Like, I'm on Dan Kennedy's speed dial on his fax machine. Like,
which isn't even a speed dial. It's just
it's a sticky note. It's a pink sticky note. It says Russell Brunson and my eFax number or whatever it was.
Does he still have no cell phone,
dude,
or anything?
So I always knew that he wasn't connected to stuff. I didn't realize how big it is. So I went to his house, and he goes to his basement. He's got this whole
his house ridiculous?
No, it's very modest and shockingly like Dan. So Dan had a whole bunch as a kid. He had a whole bunch of money in his parents, and they lost it all and never got it back. So he has this really weird thing where I think he just hoards money. Like he's got to be a billionaire, but he just lives. Anyway, his basement's really cool, like tons of books, and like he's got a mastermind room and everything. And we're down there, and
where does he live?
In Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah, beautiful place.
Anyway, he doesn't not only is not like, we know he doesn't use email and stuff like that. He does not have internet in his home.
What?
Yeah, I was like, no. He said, check my computer. So I look behind. There's nothing connected, at all. And so he types whatever it is on his computer, and then he prints it out. He walks to the fax machine, sends it to whoever it is. That's the process. And then like we're doing a book together right now. So like he'll fax me the chapter, and then he gives his wife Carla the file on a thumb drive, and then she overnights it to me. So I get the overnighted doc version because he can't email it to me. Like, and then I sit there, I'm like, how in the world he's written like 40 books. I'm like, he's so prolific. He writes so much stuff. I'm like, how in the world do you do your research if you're not hooked on the internet? And it's so funny because he looked around, he's like, stacks of like everything here. He's like, this is how I do my research. And he's like, how do you do your research? He's like, don't you feel like you're sitting in the middle of a strip club when you're on the internet? Like, how do you get anything done? I'm like, that's a good point. There's so much.
That's why he's written 40 books.
Yeah. And oh crap, I was about to say something else about him, but I forgot what it was. Anyway, but
it's fascinating. I mean, so I want to do a YouTube video. I think in like YouTube titles. I've been working with Daryl Leaves. I know you know Daryl, right? So I had a call to him yesterday. He's amazing, incredible with YouTube. It's crazy. Talk about obsession. Like he is obsessed with YouTube, and I just am like thinking in titles. Yeah. Like you just think in those like pithy little titles, and that just made me think. I lived like Dan Kennedy for a week. That would be I would watch that video just to see what that person. But you'd get so much done.
Yeah.
You willing to get rid of internet for a week?
So that's what. So the other office ever I stored my books. I set up after going to Dan's place. I set up an office with a computer and no internet for that exact same reason. I can't do like Dan Kennedy does. So now like I go there every morning for a couple hours and I write, and there's no internet access, and it's the weirdest thing. But after you get past that crutch of like, I got to Google the thing or whatever, like it gets you in this really cool flow.
How
where
long,
you can
how long have you been doing that for?
I saw Dan probably 2 months ago. So like last 2 months or so.
And has it been,
it's been really cool.
Productive?
At first it's really hard because you feel like you can't do anything. And then now it's awesome because in that room is all my books too. So it's like, if I'm my research, I got to find a book. So I'm like, oh, I'm going to go look at, 1847, like history of advertising. And like, oh my gosh, like I would never have found that on Google. Like this is the cool, you pull different ideas and things.
Is that in your house?
No, it's an office next to my office that we just rented temporarily for like
library one.
Yeah.
So you just don't have Wi-Fi there. Like,
yeah,
you could theoretically.
I'm sure on my phone I could hack it. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying this is I'm going to write here and nothing else and just see.
And so what is he just, when you go that, like, what does he do then? Does he have like cable?
No, he just reads and thinks that, I remember I was gonna tell you, this is the coolest fact. So he's written 40 books. He literally told me, he's like, I have never been to Amazon.com. I was like, what? He's like, never been there. He's like, it's like a thing now.
He talks about it like it's a place you go.
Yeah.
I've never been to Amazon.com. I don't know which street's that on. Is it a warehouse or is it next to Barnes and Nobles? Yeah. I don't think he talks like that, but
I don't think he knows what but isn't that crazy? Like,
he's never
that prolific an author. He's never once been to Amazon.com, and he's so proud of the fact he's never been there.
Now it's just like a pride point.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I want to like sneak a laptop the next time, be like, there it is. Haha.
He's like, oh my god, my eyes. So he just like lives just. He does a lot of
he's like, all my clients send him stuff now. So it's like everyone is like outsourcing stuff, and then the best stuff they'll like FedEx it to him because they'll only get stuff to him. So he's like, all his research is stuff that people thought was important enough to FedEx to him, and that's what he does his research on. And when he looks at it, and it's really cool.
What does he do now? Like, also, was the death all just?
No, it's totally real. Yeah.
He's a genius marketer, right? I mean, what better thing? I would love to die before I die and see all of the nice stuff people have to say when I pass.
Please
I think that's the dream is everybody thinks you're gone. You're just off in the woods, and then you come back and you get to see all the amazing things people said. And you're like, gotcha. Thank you. Why didn't you say that while I was alive? Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it's so cool. I mean, it's not awesome that he almost died, but he did, that was real. It was
real, 100%. And and so like now, like he lost eyesight one eye. He's got other health problems, but what's cool is like his mind's still sharp. Like he didn't lose that, which is, in a lot of people, that's the first thing to go. So it's been cool because with acquiring the company, I have a chance every month. I have 2-hour call with him. So every month I get to go and like at his feet and ask me questions I want. It's just been like, it's been the coolest, like outside of buying the company, like just, he's been my mentor forever, like from a distance. Now it's like really cool to be, have that relationship with him that,
I mean, really cool. It's Dan Kennedy.
Yeah.
Like I think so many of us started by reading something.
100%.
Is it GKIC that you bought?
GKIC, yeah. GKIC? It would have been in GKIC, yeah.
Okay.
They've changed the name a million times, but yeah, it was.
And now what's your plan with that? Because I remember, in full transparency of my experience with that company, was I read like No BS Time Management and then something else. I recently did Almost Alchemy.
It looks
so good.
It's probably the best one.
So many people need to read that book because so many people don't understand that marketing is math.
Yeah.
And it like breaks it down.
Like,
so
the 40 books, here's one of the best ones. Almost Alchemy is like probably
it's so good. And nobody knows it exists. And it's a weird name for what it is.
Yeah.
That book's amazing. And his books are so good and his mind's great. But I bought one binder, like, they'll send you the binder of this thing. And I bought it. I must have been 23 or 4. And it was like $300, which for me was a lot at the time. And I ended up like having to call them and be like, hey, I need a refund. Like, I'm sorry, but it was like a $20 thing that they had put into a binder and it wasn't very good. And I know people who are like, no, his stuff's the best stuff ever. And Dan's isn't. They're like, it's amazing. But I had that one experience and I was like, oh, I'm not going to keep buying from them.
Yeah.
And I'd lost that trust.
What year was that about?
That must have been 2014.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That's a while, but I'd heard that from other people that there was a little while
when Bill Glazer sold the company, there was like almost a decade where the people that took it over were just
Well, that's what's so exciting about you taking it over is it's like he has this incredible information.
Oh yeah,
but it was just at that point, I don't think it was even his. They had just like copied some. It was literally they were like, it's Dan Kennedy's name. We just put it on here and people will pay a premium.
And it was like laziness.
For sure. Yeah, there's been a lot of that. So we're trying to bring back things, but you asked the reason why, and it's interesting because ClickFunnels, obviously, the way we grow ClickFunnels profitably is we have front ends, right? And there's a whole bunch of Russell Brunson front ends, and that's good on one aspect because it's like I can bring people in and stuff like that. But it's also bad because then it's like relying on me.
Right.
And so for me, I was like a couple of years ago, I was like, I want more non-Russell based front ends that aren't me. Because number one, if we ever sell in the future, it makes it more sellable. If we go public, it's just better all around, right? Or if I get hit by a bus, like the company doesn't go under. So that was the the question we posed a couple of years ago. So how do we create more Russell or non-Russell front ends? And so most of all our acquisitions are happening now are all based on that too. Like, oh, this like Kennedy's like he's written 40 books on marketing. Like there's 40 non-Russell front ends we can use, we can leverage. They're not like
and
plus
he is the best in the world at low-key promoting things throughout his book. Somebody did, have you seen this thing? Somebody took notes on how many times in one of his books he cross-promoted one of his other things or mentioned one of his things. It was 168 times.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And then I was like,
YouTube video, where's that at?
It's I will find it for you. It was written in, it's this weird, I found this odd document. It sounds so much cooler when I say that. This weird document of a breakdown of Dan Kennedy talking about people who buy How to Make Money products. And there's this also, like, my favorite story ever is this old dude who he died while he was shagging his wife. He finished and then he died, and then he was resuscitated, and then he went to the hospital. They brought him back to life, and he had to get a new heart, and he wrote a sales letter to 18 hospitals and got a new heart within like 3 weeks. And I was like, talk about an opening sentence. Like, this guy came and then died. And then
I know it's the Opportunity Concepts course. So we're republishing that right now. We're working on republishing. Really? That's from that course, the Opportunity Concepts course.
Well, I'll buy that course immediately because
that's amazing. Yes, awesome. You told a story. I actually listened to that story when I was in Hawaii during Thanksgiving because I was going through all this stuff after we bought it, and like I do remember that story. It was just fascinating. That guy went on and just created all these biz ops and like killed it.
And the coolest bit, we were going to do that with our 90 Days to Freedom program, was like originally we were going to give a laptop, like get a Chromebook and give it to people that had all the stuff loaded on it, so that they had this separate laptop that was just for
the business.
Because he did that. He would give people a computer. He said the problem then was that people didn't have computers. So he's like, let's give them one. Yeah. So they would build them a computer with all the stuff on it. And then that guy was fascinating. But somebody, I think it was really in that thing, they said they counted it, and it was 168 times, I think, that he had, talked, whether it's like during my private consulting days or this thing that I charge $18,000 for, or this or this. And then I was like, God damn it, I really messed up with my book. I was afraid of even like putting in like go to persuasion or, go to, emailtemplates.com to get these or whatever. And now I'm like, I wanted to go back and just rewrite, like just throw in all these, because that stuff adds up in a big way when people are reading the book.
I'm doing a co-author book with Dan right now, and that's the thing he's trying, because I'm the same way. I didn't, like, chapter 40 is when I talk about ClickFunnels, right? So that's like, I the same way, I hide it way in the back, and he's just like, you should have this every single page we talk, and like, he's big into that and like trying to like weave it in. But
it's still a good book, right? It's not like there are people who do it where you read a book, you buy the book, and you're like, I wish I hadn't bought this book. It was just a 30-page or a 50-page sales letter.
Yeah.
It's their webinar written down. Whereas his are actually really good books. He's just a master at like throwing in weaving in those little pieces.
Yeah. Well, that's what like I learned when I got into the Dan Kennedy world back in the day, is watching, like, you go to the events and like, I didn't realize it at first, but all the speakers were people from our community. Like, and like, oh, this is a platinum member on, so they always introduce the speakers by like what level of membership they were at. And it didn't catch on initially, but then as I got later, I was like, I realized that I wanted to be the top level because like they're the ones on stage. They're the ones doing these kind of things. It's like when we built the ClickFunnels, our Funnel Hacking Live event, if you notice, we have like a handful of like big speakers, but 90% of our speakers are community members, right? And they're people in my mastermind groups, they're people in these things. So I can be like, oh, this is my inner circle member. Oh, this is one of my category kings. Oh, this is my, and all of a sudden people are seeing that positioning and
like,
and they're like,
how I can get on stage.
That's the path to get the thing, right? And that's, why our events have gone so big and created so much, is because it's like the community, and then people like, I could be on stage next year, and then they ascend and they move to the next thing, and they move all through stuff. It's all watching Dan do that all the time. Like every time he introduced me, it was never like Russell Brunson's coming on stage. It was always like diamond, or what was I, titanium member Russell Brunson, blah, 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 like, it's always like my identity was tied to the level of membership I was paying. And then,
how many membership levels were there? Do you know?
There were a lot back in the day. It was
just say, I feel like when you're getting to titanium,
yeah,
you've really exhausted your heavy metals.
We got metals, we got rocks, we got everything.
Yeah.
In fact, that was the biggest thing when I took the company back over. There's still like 7 or 8 levels. I was like, this is so confusing. So like, let's kill them all. And we got 2. So we have 2 levels now. And we spent this first year rebuilding at level number 1. And then the fax machine video is going to be what launches level 2 again. And then we'll probably, anyway, but it's just, we simplified so much of it because it just got complex.
Yeah, I love it. Well, unfortunately, so we'll do one more question here. Man, another time, if you don't, I want to ask you about the acquisition stuff, because I feel like that's a whole, we could spend an hour talking about that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's such an interesting way of growing things. Like, instead of investing in stuff that's not business related, where you're hoping to get 10% or you're hoping to hit some moonshot crypto, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But I'm curious because one of the things, like, we're looking into buying some software companies because we're not software people, but it's so easy to sell a software that does something that people are, trying to do themselves right now. But I just have a question since you've done a lot of software stuff, obviously Nathan has too. But I created this thing called Call Me Maybe. And so it's an app that lets you, it's just like what you're saying. So you can call people on your phone when you're driving, walking your dog, whatever, and you get paid per minute. Uh-huh. So people sign up like, I want to talk to Russell for however many minutes. They put in their info, you call on your convenience, and you talk to them and you get paid per minute. So you could be like, you'd probably charge, I don't know how much a minute, but you just get paid per minute. But to launch it, I had a similar thing. This guy, my buddy's like, it's going to cost you $500,000, 6 to 8 months of all this development. And I got it done for 10 grand, 15 after some profit. But my question is, because software is so different and I'm 100% inept, like I have no skill, so I can't get in the way. But with the software in particular, first of all, how is it different than the info stuff you've done? And like, what are the biggest roadblocks with software? Mm-hmm. And would you do it again? I guess would be another question.
Well, it's interesting because we talked about this earlier, but all my first products were software, right? Like back 20 years ago when I was at Boise State going to school, like these little one-off software products. My favorite businesses, number 1 is software, number 2 is info, number 3 supplements. Like those are the 3 only categories I ever go into because I love all 3 of those businesses. They're fascinating, they're fun, they're exciting. Right. But yeah, I would only do software again. Like in every business, I think if you think through it, there's a software component to every business, and software makes things stick longer to make people, they're easier to sell, people stick longer. So yes, I think that, but you're right. On the other side, there's that complexity. Like I'm not a technical person too. In fact, I have a t-shirt that says technical or non-technical co-founder. Cause like, I don't know how to do these things.
Right.
My degree's in computer information systems, but like I said earlier, like I got a 2.1 GPA. So like, I don't know how to do anything. I know enough. I understand what they're talking about, but I don't know how to do things.
But you're not actually doing any of the coding or anything.
Not at all. And so I lucked out because all my prior software businesses, like I was managing coders, which I could do, but it was hard because it's like, I had to think through every single aspect. Like I'd have a designer design something and then I'd send it to the programmer. And then there was just this constant, and it worked, but it was just hard and slow. When I met Todd and we partnered with him, he's a technical person who understands our world as well. So he's able to run and do things and think on the fly.
That's the hard. How do you find that's, I think, the hardest thing to find.
100%.
Software people want to build the perfect.
They always want to over-engineer everything
that has nothing to do. You're like, I just need to know if this makes money first.
Yeah.
That's what I was telling them. I'm like, no, I need to know if people can you call people? It's phone function. Can you just charge people to talk on the phone? And he's like, well, you're going to need all, and I'm like, you don't understand the business.
Yeah.
And then my other buddy he was a direct, he was a copywriter before this. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, he gets it, but that's how important, is that a huge part of it, is them understanding?
For sure. Because most of the engineers want to overdevelop everything, which is good. And, long term, yes, you want that, right? But Todd, in fact, I had this funny conversation with Todd because he's the smartest person I've ever met on this planet. Like he's smart at everything, marketing, business, coding, like just he's a genius. But I remember we had this conversation. He said, the reason why I'm a good coder is because I'm the laziest coder ever. I'm like, you're not lazy, you work your butt off. He's like, no, but like most coders will they'll look at something and they're like, okay, this is going to take 7 months to do. And he's like, and they're okay with that. Cause like, oh, I got to code this and overdevelop. And they love that. He's like, I'm lazy, where I'm like, okay, there's a 7-month version, but there's probably a 7-week version, a 7-day version, when I can get done today. Like, what's that look like? And so he'll go in there and just kill himself and get the thing done today. And it's like, yeah, it didn't do everything, but it does the one thing really, really well. And it took us 1 day as opposed to 7 months. And that's like Todd's genius. And then he'll finish it and then give it to developers, and they'll spend the next 2 years over developing it, writing all the tests, getting stuff. but he's able to go and like, what's the thing that proves that this is actually valuable? Because we spend 7 months and give to the customers,
right, and then
like,
you find out that they didn't even like, this is a useless
That's
feature.
one of the biggest problems at ClickFunnels 1.0 is we kept building these features because like one dude would be like, oh, if it could just do this, it'd be amazing. So we developed these things, and then it was good for one customer and nobody else used it,
right.
you know, or maybe a handful of like the really niche info, you know, like the nerds like us would get it, but the 99,000 other customers don't understand it, would never use it.
Right.
And then we're gonna have a team now to keep maintaining this feature for all these people. And it's just a nightmare versus now it's like the opposite. Like, okay, like what are the things we actually need? Let's figure those things out. And then, so I think for you, I would try to find somebody. It's hard. Like I definitely got lucky finding a Todd.
That's
like,
a really good point. And that's probably why it's like been very easy working with him. And it's like a great relationship because he had a product called Hollywood Physique, you know, on he wrote sales pages, he gets minimum viable product, he understands these things. So now I'm like, oh, that's really lucky. But that makes so much sense because developers, especially, I had one guy who's this German dude, he's like, I want half of the company and $3,000 a month to build it. And he had like no experience. And I was like, go fuck yourself. Like, you're out of your mind, didn't understand business, doesn't understand any of it. So it makes so much sense that just finding, would you say that the developer is potentially the most important piece of other than being able to have an idea that can sell?
A developer is someone who's like, who can manage developers, right? Because eventually it's not just a developer,
right?
Like you're going to rock star, but over time it's like, who can be a developer / manager so that they can bring on a team and get more people. I've had people in the past who were good developers, they couldn't manage people, so we couldn't grow, right?
Right.
Like if Nathan had one developer building ConvertKit, he never got what he got to, right? But he had, I don't know the business of what he does, but I'm sure there's maybe it's him, but there's someone who understands that, can manage it and hire teams and build teams. And then, because that's how you long-term grow, right?
Right.
You can't build
an empire. You were okay with V1 being good enough.
Yeah. I mean, ClickFunnels 1.0 was built by two people, Todd and Dylan, like the two people. Dylan built the editor, Todd built the software, and that was it. And then it's like, then we had to go and, you know, hire team. Then we had to like figure things out. But yeah, 100%. Like are people going to pay for this before we go and, you know, that's the backwards way the VC world works, is they get a whole bunch of money, they hire a huge team of people, and then they overdevelop stuff and hope it works. And it's like that's not the game that we play, right?
Because they don't care if 8 of the companies they invest in fail, as long as one of them goes to the moon. Yeah.
So I think it's like hiring or partnering with someone who is like a good developer who can develop, but then also like has the skill set to like, to be able to like, when it's past this thing, like I can manage people to like continue the vision going. Because right now Todd can manage 40, 50 developers and keep his vision going. Versus if he wasn't there, every day I'd be like, okay, well, how do I make, let me log this as part of the app. Okay, let's make this better this way. You know, like I wouldn't be able to do anything stuff I'm doing because I'd be trying to micromanage or, you know, all the things that you need someone who's got a vision as well. So like finding, you know, CTO or a visionary or a technical co-founder who's got a vision of what you're trying to do is
huge.
It's how you make it past just a one-off product, like all my one-off products I had prior.
Did you think, this will be the last question, did you think ClickFunnels would become what it is today? You can say yes. People are always like, super humble. I never could have imagined. Like, no, I thought it was gonna be fucking way bigger.
Well, I think it's funny because like when we first launched, in my head, I thought we'd get 10,000 customers the first month. Like that was my head. But I also thought like that the number of marketers in our world was maybe 10 or 20,000, right? So I thought we'd have grown faster, faster. But I thought there was I thought the ceiling was lower. Yeah. So I feel like that's kind of thing, you know, it took us longer to get to 10. It took us a year to get 10,000 members, but then now we're 120,000 members, right? So it's like, it's way bigger than the top's bigger. And a lot of us, we've had to like, to turn people into customers. You know what I mean? Like
you've taught people that a funnel is, I mean, Whitney's chiropractor is like he's like a Russell Brunson, like disciple.
We have a ton of chiropractors in our world. I love it.
He's like, he worships you. He was like, oh my, didn't he say, he's like, oh my God, you're talking to Russell. But he's like, gone so deep into it, but chiropractors didn't used to think like that wouldn't have been
for sure.
You thought was your market, right?
It's been funny. This is like business strategy, but the first couple of years, like how do we get the known universe people understand what funnels are? That was like the first goal. And then it's like, okay, we got them all. And I guess we hit like the 10, 20,000 people. And then it's like, we have to create customers. Like we have to, like, they're not more customers. They're going to want a funnel. So how do we create a customer? So that's like the info products or webinars or things like that, or creating gurus in other industries who then can take this message to the chiropractor world, the dental world. Like we have gurus in every industry out there who are preaching funnels to their audiences, you know, and bringing the people back into us. And so it's been like, how do you create customers? And then yeah, as you grow and scale, it's like more and more of those things, because there's not hot customers laying around forever. Eventually you get all those, then you need to figure out the next wave, you know?
Yeah. Awesome, man. Dude, thank you so much for coming. So how do people find Russell Brunson? I mean, obviously they can just Google you and there's 1,000
and then I'll follow you
ends.
forever on every app.
He will.
Sorry, I apologize.
He will find you. And then also make sure to check out, Muscle Funson.
That's
and
the
then,
real Russell.
did you ever see Tony Robbins, by the way?
Yeah. No.
Oh, I
No, I
gotta
haven't seen that
send you
one.
Tony Robbins. That was one of my favorites. It was hard to do though, because I was a little person and I had another guy's arms through the shirt. And so it was a lot of work. So we only filmed them one day. But Tony Robbins,
Has Tony seen it?
I don't know. You should you should send it to him. If he doesn't laugh, I talk about shelf sabotage and how I couldn't reach things on the top shelf because of the height. I'll send it to you. They're pretty outrageous. But so so they're so ridiculous. And my voice was shot after doing, oh my God, shelf sabotage. I was just like, how does he do that? I made the mistake of doing one of his things as like a joke at our first event. I was like, oh, I couldn't talk for an hour afterward. I was like, no wonder his voice is shot. Like that thing kills. But so what's the biggest thing you're doing right now where people should go follow you, find your stuff?
The easiest, like the hub, if you go to marketingsecrets.com, that's like links to basically almost all my front end funnels are there. So you can find my books, my software.
Okay. Marketing secrets.com.
Marketingsecrets.com.
Do you just have secrets.com too?
No, I think it's
what's on there. I was gonna say it's gotta
be. Yeah. I think I don't know that one. I love that one.
I bet people see your Tesla, they go secrets.com, like this guy. That's the guy. This guy's nuts. little do they know that you're on the furthest end of the spectrum possible from that. But dude, thank you so much. This is super fun.
No, I really
appreciate you coming to the office and hanging out. So we'll take a little 2-minute break here, and then we'll bring on Mr. Barry. All right. Thank you.